Welcome to Wilameana's World podcast, where culture, music, hot topics, business, and beyond collide. I'm your host, Wilameana Jones, inviting you to join me on this journey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop with our latest episode releases.
Please be advised that this episode includes a segment on domestic violence. If you or someone you know is affected by domestic violence or abuse, please call 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Hey, what's good? It's your girl, Wilameana Jones, aka Empress, checking in for another exclusive episode, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna go ahead and let you introduce yourself to the people that don't know you.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Katherine Llopiz. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. I am also the clinical director and CEO of Be the Change Mental Health, where we specialize in narcissistic abuse, self-love, and domestic violence, anything related to any form of violence for women. So we provide recovery for them and healing from a holistic perspective.
Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that you came through to speak to me, especially because this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I thought it would be very important to have someone who is licensed, trained, and professional to come through and just, speak to the people. So first of all, tell me a little more. How did you get into this field in the first place?
I've struggled with my own mental health since I was younger. I was sexually abused, physically abused. I was in the foster care system for some time as well. And so naturally, being in that population, they do put you in alignment with services. So I realized the importance of mental health from a very, very young age, just with my own personal mental health struggles. And then as I got older, I remember I met this one therapist and I was like, she changed my life. And this was like around the time where I was dealing with the domestic violence situation. And I was only a teenager experiencing all of these mental health struggles of my own. And I'm like, I meet this one therapist and she was just such a big help to me. And I can only remember the impact that she's had in my life. And I was like, you know what? I want to be that to somebody. I want to be able to be a beacon of hope to somebody and make them feel like, there is hope and that there is a way, and that their current life situations don't have to interfere with the way that they can improve. And so that's how I kind of got into the mental health world.
I'm just like, I couldn't wait to talk about this because I feel that so many people go through it. And to me, just how we go to the doctor or the dentist, I feel that we should all be able to, go and see a therapist. But unfortunately, there's such a negative stigmatism, or there was until recently, more recently, where more people are opening up about it, therapy, and wanted to go to therapy and everything like that. So what was your breaking point where you said, no, I need to get help?
I think for me was just when I realized how extreme. I was 16. I had just lost my son because he passed away. Once again, I was a teenage mom. So he passed away, and I'm like, I want to hurt myself. I want to hurt myself. And I tried. I really did. I tried, and thank God, by the grace of God, it didn't happen. Like, I literally ran into oncoming traffic. And so, that was my breaking point. That was the point where I was like, you know what? I need to get help, because if not, I'm going to be sitting here in the same position. So a lot of times, it's not until we're at our breaking point where we realize, you know what, I need help. I need additional support. I need assistance. But it starts with us being self-aware and recognizing something ain't right, And for a lot of us, we put things under the rug and we're like, all right, well, I'm not feeling my best today, or I'm just not feeling good. Let me go out and drink, or let me go out and engage in substance use, or whatever we choose to do to cope, right? Coping is just trying to make ourselves feel better in the meantime. But oftentimes, especially in the African American and the Caribbean island and Hispanic cultures, we push things under the rug and then we think, okay, we're coping with it and we're dealing with it, but all we're doing is suppressing our emotions. We're not really dealing with it. We're pushing it under the rug until the rug gets so piled up high that we're like, what do I do with this? And I'm trying to step over it, and I'm really tripping because it's been so many things that have been pushed under the rug.
Yeah, I just want to get into some of like your personal experiences and how you became an overcomer in the first place.
Yeah, it was a lot of just obviously life experiences. A lot of times we go through things and they teach us. They're life lessons. We can either be dragged through the mud, or we can say, you know what, I'm coming up on top. And so for me, I just knew that there was more to life than just what I was experiencing at the time. Like, I could have been a statistic, because I was at the time. At the time, if we go based on statistics and what life tells us when we're going through our struggles, is that at the time I was in foster care. At the time, I was a sexual abuse victim. I was in a domestic violence situation. I was a teenage mom. So if I went based on statistics, I could have stayed and have been all of those things for a lifelong reason, for lifelong. But I chose better for myself. I chose to get the help. I knew that it wasn't going to be my life, and that's something I decided. And so I do want to encourage people that are listening, like, you have the option, you have the power of choice, you can determine your healing, you can get help, and whatever your circumstances are right now, this too shall pass. It doesn't have to be, lifelong.
Right. So you think it's good for people to go even before hell breaks loose? So just to go and just talk about these, because for me, it's kind of hard. I have friends or people that deal with mental health. I think we all know somebody that, deals with it. And my thing is, like, sometimes I really don't know what to say or how to help because I'm not a trained professional.
Yeah.
So I feel like a bad friend sometimes because it's just like I have to set certain boundaries because I don't know what to say or whatever. So it's like, what do you say to somebody who is going through it?
So a lot of times, and what I heard you say is that sometimes you have, like, we all have friends that will solely rely on us for support, and we're not there. Like, you're not a therapist, so it's like, who are you to really be able to provide them with what they actually need outside of, hey, I understand what you're going through, I'm sorry that you're going through that. Like, you're not a licensed professional. And so from a friend's perspective, it's like we have to really take a step back and realize, all right, well, if this person keeps coming to me with the same thing, they keep having these symptoms that they're telling me they're not feeling good, they're not feeling like themselves, am I really helping them? Or am I enabling those behaviors? Because there's a big difference between you being a support to your friend and you being an enabler, meaning now you're enabling her or him to continuously come to you for help when you're not trained. And are you really doing them a service in that point? Because if they're continuously coming back to you and saying, hey, I'm still struggling with this, am I really helping them? And so we at times as friends, we have to take a step back and evaluate the situation and be like, hey, I think this is beyond me. And this is what I think you should do. And it's not called being a bad friend. It's you providing them with the support that's within your capacity. And we all have to understand what our capacities are. Because if we have somebody coming to us with the same issue every single week, time after time, well, are you really getting better? Or am I just providing a Band-Aid in the meantime that you need, but is it really helping you?
So I wanted to also ask you, this is a major thing about, I saw you said you were a narcissist abuse survivor. Please tell me for once and for all, what is the true definition, the actual meaning of what a narcissist is? I've been seeing the term all over social media, and I feel like people get a word and then they just run with it and don't really actually know what it means. So please tell me, what is a narcissist, and how do you know? What are the red flags of knowing like you're dealing with a narcissist?
I like the idea of identifying symptoms and red flags, because unfortunately, narcissistic personality disorder is one of those things that it is very hard to identify, even for a licensed professional. And so to hear that, people are throwing the term around, And again, this is us. A lot of times we take on that role of playing the victim, and we can oftentimes say, you know what, you're a narcissist, this and this and that. When we don't, what we really lack is accountability. And
but
so,
what is a narcissist? What is a narcissist?
So
what
a
does that mean?
narcissist is some of the symptoms rather are someone that has an high and elevated esteem. So like they look at themselves like with just like, I am the best person. They exaggerate their accomplishments. They can't do no wrong in the eyes of others. Oftentimes they will gaslight you into thinking that you're wrong. And
Pause. I'm sorry. Gaslighting. What is gaslighting? Like I hear all these terms and stuff, and I'm like, I just want to know exactly what each term means. So,
okay.
What does it mean when you're saying somebody is gaslighting?
When someone gaslights you, it's making you feel like you are crazy. I think that's the best way that I can put it. Like they are undermining your feelings. They're invalidating you. If you tell someone, well, this is how I feel, they're making it seem like, no, you're wrong for feeling the way that you're feeling. Well, how can I be wrong? Like, this is how I feel. And so oftentimes someone that is gaslighting you will make you or trick you into believing that what you're saying is invalid, or what you're saying holds no value, or what you're saying is not true. And so they're invalidating your feelings, they're invalidating your experiences, and so they're in other words gaslighting you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So basically it sounds like a narcissist is someone with a super grand ego that they just like God, so nobody could tell them nothing.
Nobody can tell them nothing.
All right, so tell me about...
But I'm sorry, can I say something?
Yeah.
But they will come off, like in the beginning, as the opposite.
Is that the love bombing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, girl, you got
I've been doing a little research.
So they'll love bomb you, and what love bomb means is pretty much when they like literally flabbergast you with all this love and attention and everything that you would want in a partner. They become it because they're super good at manipulation and being able to just conform to what your needs are. So what you'll see is somebody that's super attentive to your needs, and they're so loving and caring and and they want to do everything in their power to make you happy. And what they're doing is reeling you in, right? And so ladies, for the ones that got trust issues, no, not every man that's doing the things that you finally want them to do or actually loving you appropriately, they're not necessarily narcissists. Like you won't be able to identify a narcissist until later on when you find that you're in a position where it's like, how did we get here? Because you're no longer the person that I met in the beginning. And so it's not until you get towards the end or the middle of the relationship, once they know that they have you in a vulnerable state, because they pry on vulnerability. They pry on women with low self-esteem. They pry on women that need like that sense of direction and like, I want you to, tell me where to go, tell me how to do things. Like they pry on these kind of women because they identify you as vulnerable.
So can women be narcissists also?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Women can definitely be narcissists as well. There's no narcissistic personality disorder has no gender, so it can be men or women.
So tell me a little bit about your situation and saying being a survivor. It was so serious that you had to survive coming out of this situation.
So for me, it was abuse in general, right? And so it went from domestic violence. Well, actually, let me rewind. I was vulnerable. Like here I am, not living with family. I was a sexual abuse survivor from my own experiences in childhood. And so I met someone that kind of took me away at a young age. Like I was only 14. And so found myself very shortly after in a domestic violence situation where I was fully dependent on this person, and he became like my everything because I had nothing at the time, or so it felt like that. And then it became a very manipulative situation where it's like now I solely rely on you for that emotional and mental support. And so it wasn't until probably in my early 20s where I finally realized I've been abused. And I think that's what happens with a lot of women. Like we get stuck into this trance, like it's like you're my end all be all because that is all we know. We're in such a vulnerable state, and when they find us, it's like I don't know what to do now, like because you're all I know. And so now I'm in a position where I find myself like finding it really difficult to even fathom the idea of not being with you. So how do we leave? And that's how a lot of women or men, right, get stuck into these abusive relationships and abusive situations, and they don't know how to leave. And they get stuck in it for years because the manipulation is so serious. It happens so often that it really shrinks your confidence level. It shrinks your self-esteem. You feel like you have no self-worth and no reason of living outside of that relationship.
How long were you in that relationship?
12 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it for you finally that you said, you know what, I'm sick of this, I'm tired, I deserve more, and you finally were able to like break free?
My daughter, I'm in the bathroom hiding, and the individual was on the other side of the door, trying to break down the door, and my daughter's on the other side with him, crying. And so that was the breaking point. That was the point where I'm like, Kathy, are you serious? Like, are you really going to let your daughter experience what love is from this perspective? Because it's not. This is completely the opposite from love, but it was all that I knew. And so for that, I had to have, that was my wake-up call. My daughter yelling and screaming on the other side of the door while I'm on the other side screaming for my life, not knowing what was going to be happening after this, or if he's able to break through the door, what will happen to me. And so it wasn't until that I realized you deserve better, and you don't need to put yourself in this situation, and your daughter doesn't need to experience this. She was only like 1.5, 2 years old at the time.
And you just decided this was it, I'm breaking free, I'm getting out of here.
It wasn't that easy.
So was it like a loop, like always, like, okay, I'm over it, and I come back? And
a lot of it, that's how it occurs. That's exactly how it occurs. It's like we tell ourselves, well, I'm at my breaking point, I'm done with this, I'm not coming back. And then, of course, they'll try to manipulate their way into your life again. Reel you back in, I'm changing, I'm not going to do it again, I'm sorry. And then you find yourself in that cycle. And so the breaking point happened at that moment to at least make me realize this is an issue, and I need to I need to find a way to get out of this. But the real change didn't happen until I started giving myself that sense of worth and validation and reassurance, like, you need to really, really get out.
And how did you do that?
I definitely received therapy. That was like the biggest pillar for me, is being able to have somebody to tell me, like, this isn't normal, this isn't okay. So it wasn't until that, and of course the support from my family, because at that point my family had known.
I was going to ask you, did your family know you were even going through this?
They knew at that point, but it wasn't until years later, so that they actually knew what was going on. And so by then, when that situation occurred, it was like, now I have people to hold me accountable. Because there's a guilt and shame that you feel when you tell family, and a lot of times this is what happens as well. Women or men, we get stuck into these domestic violence situations or these abusive situations with partners because we're ashamed of telling anyone, this is what I'm going through. And so for me, I was scared. I didn't want to tell nobody what I was going through. I was ashamed. And so when I finally let someone know, this is what I'm experiencing, and they looked at me like, are you serious? Do you not know how worthy you are? You're so beautiful, you're so this. And it wasn't until I received like that reassurance, like, okay, now I can't go back because they know, and I'm going to be even more ashamed, and they're going to make me feel bad about coming back if I do.
Yes, so as far as just getting over, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's serious.
It's okay.
It's real.
It's okay.
Hold on, I need to stop.
It's okay. I'm sorry.
No, it's
I
good.
know it's hard. It's okay. It's not an easy conversation.
It's not.
It can be very triggering.
Because because it's like, you're really going deep, sharing, and I just feel for you. And I just feel for anybody that has had to go through that. Like, but just to see you here and just being so positive.
Thank you.
After coming from dealing with so much, from even as a child to now, like, is it because of your daughter, or what do you think just made your shift to say, no, like, I am worth more, like, I have to love myself more? Like,
I feel like in retrospect, right, because there's been moments where, of course, I'm like, and a lot of us go through this, we're like, what could be the reason why I am going through this right now, God? What could be the reason? Like, it just don't make sense. Why I am going through all that I'm going through. And a lot of us go through those periods of times where we're like, I don't care what you say, you can't tell me that this is happening for no reason. Like, it don't make sense to me. And so it wasn't until later on, like years later, where I'm like, you know what? I see why you put me in the position that you did, God. Like, I see it. And so what I realized from my own life now, maybe 5 to 10 years later, I'm like, you put me through, or I went through all of this in exchange for someone else's healing. And that's how I look at it. And so a lot of us will have that hard time trying to figure out, well, God, you can save it, because I ain't trying to exchange my pain for anybody else's healing. Like, I'm not trying to go through that. But I look at it from a different perspective, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for those experiences. And so again, it's all about reframing how you're thinking about it. Because I could very well say, well, I went through all this, life is the worst, God, all that. I chose differently. And so we have the power of choice, and we have the power of thinking about things or seeing life through different lenses, and recognizing, like, there is a chance that what you're experiencing, what you're going through, is so that somebody else don't have to go through it. It's that we can also be the cure for that generational trauma that has been passed down from mom to dad to everybody, and now it's you, and you have the power to decide that you want better for yourself, that you want healing for yourself, and give it a chance, and believe in yourself, more importantly. And so for me, I just realized, like, this isn't going to fall down my family lineage. Like, it stops with me. The generational traumas, the generational curses, it's not going to go anywhere else. It stops here. It stops with me. So it's the power of choice, which we all have, mental illness or not.
All right. So in light of speaking on domestic violence, I know you've been seeing everything that's going on with this whole Diddy Cassie situation. It's a lot.
It's a lot
to take in and witness. I mean, Diddy was somebody who I really looked up to as a music mogul and everything. How do you feel about that situation and looking at that whole situation play out?
I think obviously it's definitely really triggering for a lot of women and a lot of men who might have experienced that level of physical abuse. But just looking at it, I do believe that we should separate, the individuals, because I think society, we focus a lot on, okay, who's doing what and what they did, and we don't place enough focus on what the issue is. So the issue is that a lot of men and or women encounter physical abuse and domestic violence situations, and they don't know how to get out of it. And so for anyone that is in a domestic violence situation and are finding themselves, in that position, it is important for you to, recognize that this is not okay. But like we said earlier, it's important for us to first identify that this is an issue and really owe it to ourselves to get out of it as much as we can. But first, it starts with that level of awareness. Like, we have to be able to identify, like, this is an issue. This is not normal. This is not okay.
Right. I just feel so bad for her, because it's just like, now it's out in the open, and she's had to deal with that, for so many years, just in the dark. And I see it, all the time, where people are just scared to leave. No matter how bad somebody is hurting you, it's like, oh, I'm scared to say something. And I think in that situation with him having so much money and power and respect, that she just felt like,
It's like she was stuck. She felt stuck. And I think a lot of people who are going through those abusive relationships, they feel stuck. And that's how they stay in those abusive relationships, because they don't know what else is out there. They're like, well, I can't leave, because if I leave, they're probably going to hurt me some more, or I'm probably going to be put in a position where I won't have a home, I won't have anywhere to live, I won't have, you know, the lifestyle that I'm used to. And so that's really like that power play. And that's how usually a lot of times we get stuck into these domestic violence or abusive relationships, because they find a way to gain that power, that sense of control. And it's usually through those monetary outlets. And so for any woman that's going through it, it's just being able to understand that you can get out of this, but it starts with that awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, anybody watching, you know, viewing this right now, if you're in a situation and you're scared to get out, here is your sign to go ahead and break free and love yourself more.
That's
and
right.
get out and know that you're valuable and you deserve more. So
That's right.
we are praying for you, and we're hoping that, you know, you watch this and you get out of that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And you deserve so much better, and there is life after abuse, and I just pray that you love yourself a little bit harder and know that this too shall pass.
Recently, I've gone through like the biggest loss of my life. Like, I'm still grieving. So I just want to know, what would you say to somebody who is grieving? Like, how everybody is different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what are some things that you would tell somebody that they can do that's grieving? Because I know a lot of times too, like with my friends, they don't really know what to say with me, but they try to support me in different ways and stuff like that. So certain things it's a pet peeve of mine, that it's just like, I know people want to say like, oh, you have an angel watching over you now and stuff like that, and it's like, bitch, that ain't gonna make me feel better. You know what I mean? Like, that's great. Thank you that you said that, but stuff like that really is just like, you know, and I know it's hard for people to, okay, like, they want to be there for you, but they don't know, like, what to say, or, you know, so what would you say, or as far as giving advice to somebody that's, like, really grieving or going through some type of traumatic experience? What do they need to do other than just say, oh, you just need to go to therapy, or oh, you got an angel?
So how can you
watch it out?
how can they support someone that's grieving, or what would I say to them?
Both.
Okay. So I would say for anyone that's grieving, try to find your source. Try to find some form of peace through the process. I know, or some form of mantra. Like for me, when I was grieving because I lost 2 children, it was this too shall pass. And just knowing that every single day I'm taking it little by little, day by day, and trying to find the peace in every single day, in whatever it looks like. Because the peace that day could be like, all right, I actually took a shower today, or I actually got out of bed today. And so recognizing like the grieving stages, they're not going to be the happy moments. They're going to be really, really dark, but there will be good days and there will be bad days. It's like when it comes to grief, it's like up and down. And so realizing this too shall pass, the pain that you're experiencing, while it may not go away, but it will get better and it will get easier to live with. And so, you know, stay hopeful as much as you can, because this too shall pass. It will.
It's easy to say that, but
done.
it's a whole different, you know.
Yeah.
I think one thing that has helped me with doing like grief counseling is the person told me, you know, you're never going to get over it, but you're going to have to find ways to live forward.
Yes, yes.
That really helped me a lot, because it's just like, before I turned around, I was like, so much time has passed, like, well, not so much time, it's only been 10 months since my mom passed, but it's just like, I woke up one day and I was like, dang, I have to get active, like, time is just passing, and you'll just be kind of like, you know, stuck in this loop. So I think it's just different for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, of how they deal with stuff. But I appreciate you sharing, you know, some different insight of, because I know people don't know what to say. And I know that grieving is not linear. It's not just one thing, because it just feels like a roller coaster sometimes.
And it's okay for you to be grieving and letting people know how they can support you. And even if we don't have the words to say, because it's like the last thing you want to do is tell somebody, well, this is what you can do to help me. When I don't even know what you can do to help me. A lot of times I don't even know how I can help myself a lot of the times as I grieve, right? But if you do have the courage and even an ounce of motivation, especially when someone's like telling you, okay, well, just pray, everything's gonna be okay, she's your angel. Like, it's okay to let people know also, hey, I don't need that right now. Like, I just need you to, you know, just listen to me as I vent. Or I just want to recall the memories to you, like, of what I remember the most or what I appreciate the most. And so it's okay to let people know also how they can support you.
How they can support you. Okay. Yeah. We were discussing boundaries because I feel like sometimes, you know, also you want to be there for everybody. And sometimes I just don't have that capacity, you know. So now I just been like, no, I'm going to do, when I'm ready, I'm going to do when I'm ready.
That's
you
right.
know, like, so is that basically what you would say as far as like setting boundaries? You have to just do what you're capable of.
That's right. Yeah, we have to check in with ourselves. Like, we have to make it a priority, grieving or not, whenever we're dealing with our own mental health struggles, we have to check in with ourselves in terms of what we need from each day. Because a lot of times, you know, especially when we have friends that are fully reliant on us for that support, or family, we tend to put our needs to the side. And so I want to encourage everyone, like, don't put your needs to the side. Be able to check in with yourself and be like, you know what, do I have the capacity at this moment to answer this call? And I know this person gonna ask me for something, or this person gonna need something. And if the answer is no, it's okay to delay it. Like, I love telling people, baby, don't call me, call Jesus, because I can't be everything to everyone. And we have to understand that, like, we cannot be everything to everyone. And it's not selfish if you are choosing to put yourself first. It's not. It's you choosing peace, you choosing your own happiness so that you can fill your cup and be all that you need for everyone else. But first, be all that you need to be for yourself.
For yourself.
That's
right.
That's the main thing. That's priority.
Thank you so much. And the last thing I want to ask you is, when you're gone from this world, you know, your mission, you're here to help others. What is something that you want to be remembered by? What do you want your legacy to look like?
That's such a beautiful question. I want people to take away, if anything, from my legacy is that they have the power to change whatever they feel they are not 100% in agreeing with, that as it relates to their life and their healing. So I want them to know that I have the power of choice. There is better. I can wake up and decide to be better, and that 1% better every single day. And if I can inspire one person to just have that faith and that hope that this too shall pass and tomorrow will be a better day, I'm happy with that. I could live with that.
Well, yes, we could go on for hours, but, you know, I appreciate you so much for coming by and checking in with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so also I would just like to know where is somewhere they could call if they need, someone's watching this and they need help right now.
Yeah, so if anyone is in need of mental health support, of course, my office is open. You can go to BeTheChangeMentalHealth.com. You can also follow our Instagram page, Be The Change Mental Health. And my direct Instagram is kept_by_faith. And you can reach out to me for any additional support that's needed.
Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you follow me at Empress Raw. Make sure you follow All Like Minds Media, H2CC Concepts, and thank you for Sheep a Billionaire for having us at the Boss Nation Network. And I can't forget my sponsors. Thank you so much to Bel Air. Much love.
You did so good. Oh, you're so awesome.
Thank you so much.